Happy Thursday morning to everybody. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. As always, thank you so much for rocking and rolling with us. We're coming at you from the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis, and a lot to get to on this Thursday morning. Coming up here, Bill Belichick defensive coordinator update for San Francisco. We have the latest on the Niners' search to replace Steve Wilks outside of Bill Belichick, what Brandon Aiyuk is asking for in contract negotiations as he's looking for top 10 wide receiver money potentially, and should the 49ers pursue Jets quarterback Zach Wilson to be the backup for Brock Purdy in the 2024 NFL season. Before we dive into all of this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Daily shows on the San Francisco 49ers. We've had some great intel here on the show, and you don't want to miss our coverage every single day year round. As for the latest on Bill Belichick here, it looks as though the dream of him becoming the next Niners defensive coordinator might be dead. According to 49ers Sports Talk on X, Niners head coach Kyle Shanahan, which I told him he should do if the Niners want to go all in on that 6th Lombardi trophy so that Shanahan can finally win a Super Bowl championship for San Francisco, did reach out to former Patriots head coach and 6-time Super Bowl champion as the head man for New England, Bill Belichick, to gauge his interest in becoming the next Niners defensive coordinator. Source said to Niners Sports Talk, quote, Kyle knew it was going to be a long shot, but out of respect, he reached out to Bill. It sounds like Bill Belichick kindly declined, and he's going to do television in 2024. Now, obviously, we knew from the jump it was going to be a long shot that Belichick was going to come to the Niners. Ego, him wanting to still become a head coach, but he's on the unemployment line. He's one of the best defensive minds ever. You think about the opportunity to lead a defense that's led by studs. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, and a couple of other really good players. Jair Brown, Talanoa Hufanga, very good safety tandem. Diamador Lenore, Charvarius Ward at that cornerback position. Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave at defensive tackle. If the Niners go into the next year, as currently constituted and constructed, they still have a really good defense. So it's tough to pass up on that type of opportunity, which is why whoever becomes the next Niners defensive coordinator is going to have a fantastic chance to get this defense playing to the level that they played in 2022 under DeMeco Ryans, in 2021 under DeMeco Ryans, and before that under Robert Saleh, who left San Francisco to become the Jets head coach. As for where the Niners stand right now in their efforts to replace Wilks, the 49ers have interviewed Brandon Staley, former Chargers head coach and Rams defensive coordinator. In 2020, that Rams defense was one of the best. COVID year, so it's kind of hard to constitute how good those numbers really were, but looked at as a very creative defensive mind who can draw up and scheme up ways to get to the opposing quarterback. And when you have the respect of Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, I think that's pretty telling because they're looked at as some of the top minds in all of football. San Francisco also interviewed Nick Sorensen, who is the Niners defensive pass game specialist, and yesterday, according to Matt Mayoko, NBC Sports Bay Area, who's been all over this Niners defensive coordinator search, San Francisco did complete an interview with defensive backs coach Daniel Bullocks, who is really an up-and-comer on that defensive staff, who has garnered a lot of interest from Shanahan in this position, a lot of respect from the Niners head coach, as well as a lot of the other defensive players on this roster. The Niners are also, according to Mike Garafolo, we talked about this yesterday, set to interview David Merritt, who's the Chiefs defensive backs coach. He is a Steve Spagnuolo favorite, has worked under Spags with Kansas City since 2019, and the Chiefs in 2023 had the 4th-ranked pass defense. They were spectacular as an organization. They've done a really good job of developing the defensive back position, and David Merritt has won 5 Super Bowls. 3 with Kansas City, and he goes back to New York when Spags was working with the New York Giants way back in the day. What I've been hearing, and I've reported this here on the 49ers Report, and this is why you subscribe for more insider information, is that if the Niners do in fact go internal, earlier this week I was hearing that Nick Sorensen is most likely the choice to replace Steve Wilks. He comes to San Francisco a couple of years ago, has worked with this Niners defense, has a lot of familiarity with a lot of the pieces. He's well respected by the players as well. He worked under Pete Carroll when he got his coaching career started, so he knows that Seattle defense, which to the foundational elements of what the Niners do, at the core of it, they run a lot of that Seattle scheme that Pete Carroll made famous way back in the day. And then Dan Quinn was able to carry that over to Atlanta as well as Dallas over the last couple of years. And Gus Bradley still obviously runs that scheme with the Indianapolis Colts. Nick Sorensen is the only defensive assistant on this staff right now who has coordinator and play calling experience. So as far as experience, not calling defensive plays, but calling plays and being a coordinator, he might have the upper hand in that regard. Latest on Brandon Aiyuk. Let's get to that next. So I heard from a source yesterday that Brandon Aiyuk isn't going anywhere, and the 49ers really want to sign him to a contract extension. His agent is best friends with John Lynch. Athletes First is the agency, and John Lynch was the best man in Brandon Aiyuk's agent's wedding, and Lynch was his first client coming out of school. And the Niners, the other day when John Lynch was speaking with the media, even said, look at our previous history as an organization. Look at how we've taken care of some of the players that we've drafted, groomed, and developed. And they really do have a track record of taking care of their homegrown players. They signed George Kittle to a massive deal. Next offseason, Fred Warner in 2021, Deebo Samuel in 2022, Nick Bosa in 2023. The Niners want to make Brandon Aiyuk next. Now, a lot of you are like, well, they keep restructuring these contracts. They have a lot of cap hits over $20 million. That's true. And they're pushing all this money down the road. That could be problematic. Definitely. But NFL salary cap continues to increase. It was expected to come in at $243 million. And then, as we talked about here on the program, it increase to $255 million. As long as business continues to boom in the National Football League and there's not something unprecedented like another pandemic that hit in 2020, salary cap's going to go up. Now, naturally, with that, salaries for players are also going to be on the uptick. But San Francisco is in a good financial situation here. They have more cap space. They're under the cap right now. With restructures, they're able to open up anywhere from $50 to nearly $100 million. And there's some of the salary cap space that rolls over from 2023 to 2024. With Brandon Aiyuk, though, this is pretty interesting that in contract negotiations, and this is according to 49ers Sports Talk, he's making it be known that he wants to be more of a priority within the Niners offense. And from his standpoint, that makes sense because Brandon Aiyuk has gotten better every single year. This past year, second team All-Pro, top 10 wide receiver, number 2 graded wide receiver according to Pro Football Focus, number 2 in yards per catch, an explosive threat for Brock Purdy, analytically one of the more upper echelon wide receivers in the National Football League. And when you watch the tape, with his footwork, with his get off at the line, with his ability to run routes, make guys miss, put them in a turnstile, drop DBs to the ground, pick up yards after the catch, the elusiveness aspect to his game, but him also taking the top off of the defense, he's really developed into a goal line to goal line complete wide receiver, and no DB has been able to consistently lock him up and stop him. So from Aiyuk's standpoint, he wants to get compensated, and beyond this 5th year, guaranteed $14 million, he has no financial stability outside of 2024. And when a player like Sauce Gardner, who is just a fantastic cornerback for the New York Jets, says Brandon Aiyuk, and he tweeted this out the other week, is one of the only wide receivers who I watch who's consistently open yet doesn't get targeted all that much, I think that tells you all that you need to know. Aiyuk, for the real ball knowers, for the non-casual fans, is a spectacular wide receiver. He wants to be compensated as that. And how many of you would say that Aiyuk is the better wide receiver on this Niners team compared to Deebo Samuel? A lot of you, right? Well, Aiyuk might want to make more than Deebo Samuel's average annual value, which is checking in at about $23 million. If he's the better player, he might go to the negotiating table and say, well, why can't I get more money? And if you can give him a promise that he's going to be targeted more in this offense, I think it makes the offense better because he's a great target. Him and Brock Purdy have that relationship on the field. And with some of the touch and accuracy downfield from Purdy to be able to hit Aiyuk, it was a really, really special 1-2 punch for this Niners offense that is going to have to continue to evolve as we look ahead in Kyle Shanahan's offense, which we talked about it with Sam Monson yesterday. Check out the video, Pro Football Focus's lead analyst. He said Kyle Shanahan's offense is a cheat code. Now, there are other things that Shanahan can do a little bit better, protection schemes, maybe relying on the strengths of it a little bit more, continuing to be creative, but certainly an interesting conversation to be had on the Aiyuk front. Lastly, let's talk Zach Wilson here real quick. So the Jets have given Zach Wilson permission to seek a trade. In other words, water is also wet. Should the Niners target him as a backup? Big conversation on social media right now because Sam Darnold, a little bit expensive last year. You have some financial issues with this roster. Do you want to pay a backup quarterback a large sum, or do you want to pay a backup cheaper or draft a rookie that comes in at a fraction of the price tag of Sam Darnold? And it just frees up salary cap space and money to use elsewhere at more positions of need and emphasis on this 49ers roster. I will say, if Brock Purdy ever goes down, you do want to have a really solid backup because Kyle Shanahan has shown, whether it's C.J. Beathard, Nick Mullins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance in a short sample size, he's able to make this offense work regardless of the quarterback for at least a short amount of time before the NFL starts to catch up to that quarterback. But Zach Wilson simply is not that guy. And there's also this. He has a cap hit in 2024 of $11 million because he was taken so high by New York out of BYU. If the Niners even want to entertain this, and the talent is somewhat intriguing, he has stupid arm strength, the Jets would have to eat almost all of that salary. I'm not paying Zach Wilson anywhere close to $11 million to be the backup because that's the issue that we're talking about right now, is that the price tag comes in at that $11 million per year number. Now, San Francisco does have a relationship here with Robert Saleh, that line of communication. Wilson has arm talent, but that's it. Can't throw a touch, can't throw with accuracy. When he's on the move, he can make some decent throws, but it's not anything that's sustainable or consistent. Bad pocket feel. Looks as though he's suffered from a lack of confidence. You put him on this offense with Kyle Shanahan and with these weapons. Can he elevate him? There's no doubt that that is a possibility, but he has shown me nothing that you can rely on him to step in for Brock Purdy and be a legitimate quarterback for this Niners offense. A lot more to come from Indianapolis here from the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine. Just wanted to hop on the mic here. Defensive backs meeting with the media today, as well as some tight ends. And another theme yesterday, Niners meeting with a lot of defensive linemen. Today, they've been meeting with a lot of safeties. I know you have Jair Brown, Talanoa Hufanga, but slot nickel, a little bit of an issue for this Niners defense. When Logan Ryan, who's washed, really good player, accomplished in his NFL career, is getting consistent snaps in the Super Bowl, consistently getting burned, it's an issue. So the Niners are checking into that, and they're also looking at some tight ends. I've got some information here, as somebody from the Chat Sports crew just sent in a message as far as the tight end that I can confirm the Niners have worked out. Penn State tight end Theo Johnson. And then if you want to give me a follow on X, I've been tweeting out some information for all of these interviews that the Niners have been conducting. USC safety Kalen Bullock has met with the Niners' big Talanoa Hufanga fan. Wake Forest defensive back Malik Mustafa met with the Niners team captain for Wake Forest a year ago. He grew up in Charlotte, but a huge Niner fan, loves Talanoa Hufanga's game. I put out my interview with him on social media on X at Chase_Senior. He also acknowledged how Jair Brown was able to step in and play a lot as a rookie. And then elsewhere on this list, names that I can confirm that the Niners have met with: Sion Vaki out of Utah, who's a defensive back and running back. A lot of versatility to his game. So those are some of the people and some of the players, 2024 NFL draft prospects, who have linked up and met up with San Francisco here in Indianapolis. Like I said, we're going to continue to give you some great coverage. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is the largest independently run Niners channel on YouTube, closing in on 131,000 subscribers. We'll catch you in a few hours right here on the show.